I feel this video was a long time coming, seeing how much it's been requested over the past few months. So, today's the day we figure out, can you beat Fallout New Vegas while being chased by Malcolm Holmes? Okay, just like before with the last two challenges, I'm going to go over a few things first, just to give you all an understanding of how this works. In New Vegas, there are unique bottle caps called star bottle caps. They are scattered throughout the game, and simply put, they are needed for a quest. However, after the player collects their first star bottle cap, a character by the name of Malcolm Holmes will be placed in the game world. From there, he will then begin making his way towards the player by any means necessary. Therefore, the idea is to not let this person reach us, meaning I'll need to beat the game as fast as I can. Now for some very important information about Malcolm. He is much faster than Private Kowalski and Mr. Burke, as unlike them, he doesn't have a weapon out, and rather than walking, he runs at full speed. So that alone makes this a bit more difficult. He can also reach the player in any area of the base game according to the wiki, so I'll never be safe no matter where I am, so I'll need to make sure I don't stop for any long periods of time. He's also marked under a specific group in the game's files that make it so most groups of enemies will leave him alone. If by some means he does die, I will load back to a point where he's alive. Speaking of loading back, just like the Mr. Burke video, I'm going to pause the challenge at certain points where I will save and then wait a few in-game hours just so I can make sure that he is still following me. If he is, that's great, I can just load back and continue on with the challenge. If not, then I'll need to load back through older saves to try and find one where he's alive and continue from there. And finally, I have only one shot at this. If he catches up with me, the run is failed and that's it. No exceptions. With all that out of the way, let's begin. During the character creation, I made myself green because I'd already committed to putting Shrek in the thumbnail, so I thought it might as well. I gave up pretty quickly at actually trying to make him look like Shrek, however. For my special stats, I put 9 in strength because I prefer melee weapons, as you all know by now, 8 in endurance, intelligence, and luck for more health, skill points, and luck, respectively. I left perception at 5 for some reason, and then drained charisma and agility. Charisma is useless, and despite the fact it says that agility increases movement speed, it in fact doesn't. For my tag skills, I take melee weapons, survival, and speech. A survival skill of 45 will allow me to get the travel light perk at level 4, which will give me a 10% speed increase whenever I am naked or wearing light armor. This seems pretty mandatory given the speed Malcolm is known to run at. Speech is simply because if the goal is to get through the game as fast as possible, the likelihood of me being in a position to fight the Legate and Legion at the end is pretty slim, so talking my way out may be my only option. Finally, for traits, I take heavy-handed and Wild Wasteland, because why not? Once I'm free from Doc Mitchell's house, I head straight over to Victor's shack as a stealth boy has a chance to spawn in one of the containers there. Sadly, I don't get that lucky, so I just take the weapon repair kit from the table and leave. Seeing how to get things started, I need to pick up a star bottle cap. I leave Goodsprings and head 2 minutes down the road to Gene Skydiving, as on the table inside there is in fact a star bottle cap. I take a moment to compose myself before grabbing the bottle cap and beginning the run. Okay, so everything I need to do from this point on has to be planned out carefully as I can't afford to double back on myself. So, to that end, I begin heading my way to the crater between Hidden Valley and Black Mountain so that I can get the Brotherhood holotape that will allow me to get into the bunker early. The plan is obviously to side with Yes Man for speed reasons, but this means I will need to meet each of the major factions to some degree, so I feel getting the Brotherhood out of the way now would be in my best interest so I'm not zigzagging across the map trying to meet them all later. On my way to the crater, I also take out any powder gangers and bar scorpions in my way as I start getting experience, as like I said, I'll need to hit level 4 as soon as possible for that speed increase. I hit level 2 once I finish off the last of the scorpions and raise my survival to 45, and then dump the last 6 points into melee weapons for a little extra oomph. I also take the Swift Learner perk for more experience. Don't need to explain why that's good in a run like this. When I arrive at the crater, I ignore all of the centaurs and just grab the holotape and make my way to the bunker to see about dealing with Dobson the Ranger. Well, I figured pelting him with grenades would be a good idea, but I forgot to hotkey my stim packs and as a result forgot to heal and got killed for it. Next try, I attempted the old shove a stick of lit dynamite in their trousers technique, but Dobson is a crafty one and saw right through that trick. I tried taking him down with a machete, but that was worse than the grenade rifle, so I just switched back to it. While I did manage to take him down this time, I also burned through a considerable amount of my stims in the process, which is not really ideal as I don't enjoy the idea of stopping to pick up medical supplies. With that out of the way, I return to the bunker, and while I could technically leave now, in fact anyone in their right mind would to save time, I instead decide to blow up the bunker for no reason whatsoever. Well, there was actually one reason for me to come down to the lower levels, as I wanted the super slides that Harden just leaves on a table in plain sight just begging to be stolen. I effortlessly steal the keycards, do a surprisingly good job avoiding lasers on the way out, and defeat the Brotherhood all before the sun sets for the first time in the game. I think that's a new record for me at this point. Next was to head through the Black Mountain shortcut, because why wouldn't I take a shortcut in a run like this? This is also where I decided that if I was going to be meeting the other factions, I should probably head to Red Rock Canyon now and meet with the Khan so I don't have to swing around this way later on. After heading straight through the mountain passage, it's pretty much a straight shot northwest to get to the canyon. I did get ambushed by a family of geckos that weren't too happy to see me. Thankfully, this is where I put that super slide to good use and began making myself some gecko pancakes. From here, I arrived at Red Rock, and to make sure I wouldn't have to come back, I killed the very first can that I saw. Thing is, on his corpse he had some turbo, and I mean, I can't not use this right now, right? So I head up to the longhouse, turbo it up, and begin swinging me mallet with a speed that certainly must have been terrifying for anyone else present at the time. With the walls now painted with can, I left for the armory just outside to finish the job, as well as get the last little bit of experience I needed to level up and hit level 4 and take the travel light perk. Apparently I am running faster, but I don't really see it if I'm being honest. Oh well. This is also where I paused the run for the first time to drop a save just to make sure Malcolm Holmes is indeed following me. After about 3 in-game hours, he phase shifts his way into my skull just to let me know I can't escape from him that easily. With my personal space violated, I load back, unpause the challenge, and I'm now thinking about heading to the Boomers, as they're the last faction that I'll actually need to meet for Yes Man that aren't already on the strip. On this journey, I got attacked by Driver Nephi and his merry band of misfits. Well, for once, I actually have a pretty great weapon, and as such, I cause him to explode, steal his golf club, and then rip his head off for good measure. The fiends probably got the last laugh in the end, because as I was leaving, I tripped over a landmine, and really, that's just embarrassing. I made my way for the gunrunners to sell everything bar the clothes on my back and my super sledge. The plan was to have enough money to pass the credit check so I wouldn't need to fight my way onto the strip later. However, on my way to the Boomers, I realised that I would probably need some stim packs just in case I got hit by one of the artillery shells. Having crippled legs is a death sentence after all in this run, so I spent about half of my caps on 9 stim packs and 5 super stim packs. Upon arriving just outside Nellis, I pasted George and then prepared myself for a bombing run. Well, turns out I clearly must be faster with this perk, as I only got hit with a single shell this time, and I wasn't even ducking in and out of the buildings like you're supposed to. I just did a mad dash along the wall and lived. Once I am taken to Pearl, I just get through her dialogue as quick as possible and leave. Yeah, that's right, I'm not doing the Boomers' quests, and I'm not killing them this time either. This isn't just because it's the quickest thing to do, it's because, as I learned from the Pistol Whipping 45 run, the Boomers will fire on just about anyone who tries to approach, and if Malcolm is following me, there's a high likelihood that they will bring hellfire down upon him. As I make my way back through, I don't see his corpse anywhere, so I figure I should probably pause the challenge again just to make sure he didn't get decimated. Well, after about 7 in-game hours, or 7 minutes real life time, he appears, so at least we have confirmation the run is still good to proceed. Him being decently far away is very good right now, as I need to deal with all the casinos on the strip as well as house, and from there I'll also need to watch the presentation, so that is a lot of time where I am stuck in the same small area doing absolutely nothing, and giving him ample time to hunt me down. With that in mind and my 900 caps, I just buy a strip pass for 500 caps from Mick, as while I could probably fight my way through the Securitrons, the time spent doing so would be too risky. I present my pass to the robot and then get to work doing what I do best, murdering shady suit-wearing men in casinos. First up, as is my favourite, the Omertas get to be pounded to oblivion. I followed that up with the tops and I just mashed the hell out of the right trigger as body parts and organs rained down on the floor. Benny's bodyguards attacked me here, but surprisingly, not Benny. No, he just waited on the stairs and didn't even try to fight back as I ran at him weapon in hand. Needless to say, he did not survive the encounter. With the chip in hand, I went to the white gloves and pretty much just employed the same strategy there. I also killed Mortimer, as no playthrough of this game exists where that hat isn't mine. One last task before grabbing Yes Man, and that's to get rid of Mr. House. I would love to have used the golf club from earlier on him for obvious reasons, but I had to sell it for drug money. No matter though, there's always next time, especially if I end up doing a run where I can only use golf clubs. House is now gone and it was back to Yes Man as I informed him that I'd already dealt with all the other factions and that House was out of the picture and the lucky 38 was all ready for him. The run had been going so smooth up to this point, and then of course, the game crashed. I would be mad at this, but truth be told, this is the first time I New Vegas has crashed in about a month, so I guess it's okay. Starting the game back up and it's time to sit through everyone's favourite demonstration with Yes Man. I have no idea whether Malcolm can make his way in here, but seeing how some of you all told me that he's appeared for you in the Legate's camp at the end of the game, I'm going to assume he can show up anywhere in the base game. With that thought in my head, I was pretty nervous the whole time. I barely took my eyes off of the door just in case he decided to pop his head through. Luckily he didn't, and now it was off to the substation to see about turning the lights on for Yes Man. On the journey to the substation, I had what will probably go down as the dumbest idea in any run to date. Seeing how he was nowhere near me, I decided that to make things a little more interesting, I would wait for an hour. You know, hoping that maybe he'd get just a little closer, maybe I'd see him off in the distance. Well, I did it. And luckily, I was holding forward on the left thumbstick the whole time, as he was quite literally right behind me. Considering he will automatically interrupt your wait by talking to you, this implies that had I even stood around for an extra second or two before I hit wait, he would have spoken to me and I would have failed the run. Well, now that he was within spitting distance, I had to find a way to get away from him. Sure, with the perk I was technically faster than him and the distance between us was getting bigger, but I was also about to enter the substation and it's likely that when I left he would be in my path and I might not be able to avoid him if that happens. I had the idea to follow some railway tracks up to a small bridge, and since the AI usually prefers to follow a path rather than run off of things, I was able to lure him up there and then jump over the side and then get away from him a bit while he tried to path his way towards me. This plan worked, but he was still close, so I had one last idea. I was going to scale the cliff next to the substation. In any other Fallout, this would be the most obvious solution, but New Vegas is infamous for the number of invisible walls on the sides of some of its mountains, so I had to be careful that I didn't just run straight into one, as he would definitely catch up with me if that happened. Thankfully the plan worked and I at the very least broke line of sight from him, and could quickly make my way across from here and fall down into the substation and activate it for Yes Man. Also, I was quick enough in doing this that the NCR soldiers were still chasing me when I left to tell me not to go into the substation. On the run back to the strip, I never saw Malcolm again. Now, once again, it was the Battle of Hoover Dam. But as I mentioned a little bit ago, some of you have told me that he can still catch you here, so I sprint through this as fast as I can. I do make sure to take out the 3 great cans at the start so that I can get the turbo one of them has for the fight with the Legate. On my first attempt to get into the Legion's camp, I'm pretty sure one of my own robots blew me up, so that's pretty neat. Second attempt and I just ignore all of the enemies as they can't follow you into the camp anyway. Once there, I take out the first guard with ease as it's pretty difficult for him to get into punching range when I'm constantly swinging my super sledge back and forward. Once he goes down, I take his armor as it's far better than mine and it still gives me the 10% speed increase. It also changes the opening dialogue with Lanius, which is something I did not know before. Speaking of the Legate, this is the quickest I've ever dealt with him in a one-on-one scenario. Turns out pumping yourself full of Psycho, Ant Nectar, Turbo, and many alcohols and beers causes you to just beat him to a pulp in a matter of seconds. I probably didn't even need to fight him one-on-one. With this setup, I'm confident in saying that I could have taken them all on. Now it was just the NCR. I know Oliver and his Rangers are never really an issue, but all the Securitrons opened fire at once and just obliterated them almost before I even had a chance to do anything. With that, I spoke to Yes Man, finishing the game, and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout New Vegas while being chased by Malcolm Holmes. That was a pretty fast run. In fact, it's my shortest run yet as I beat it in just under 2 hours, not counting times I had to pause the game or the ending slideshow. Despite the fact I didn't really see Malcolm during the run as much as I saw Kowalski, I'd say this one had me on edge more, as at least before I knew roughly where Kowalski could be. Still not as terrifying as Mr. Burke's Terminator walk though. Regardless, that's going to be the end of this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving the video a like, and if you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe, as I try to have one of these videos out every week. My name's Nerbit, stay safe everyone, I'll see you all in the next video.